Let me take you back to 1957. That's a long time ago. I think it's the first week I went to Christian camp in the summer. Went from my home in Flagstaff, Arizona, down to Prescott, Arizona. That's where I was born, actually. And went to a Christian camp called Camp Christian. I spent a week there, and I think I was 8 years old. It's the first time I'd gone to camp. And I got through the week without getting in trouble with anybody and got to the last day. The last day, we sat on these rocks, and my grandpa, Thomas Otis Bishop, known as T.O., preached a sermon down there in front of the rocks. And I went forward, and he took my confession of faith. And then on Sunday, at the Willow Street Church of Christ in Prescott, Arizona, my grandpa baptized me. So I got baptized when I was 8 years old. Why should you get baptized? Why get baptized? Good question. I want to read Matthew 3:13 through 17. And I think we find the answer there, at least 3 good reasons to get baptized. Then Jesus came from Galilee to the Jordan and was baptized by John. But John tried to deter him, saying, I need to be baptized by you, and do you come to me? Jesus replied, let it be so now. It is proper to do this to fulfill all righteousness. Then John consented. As soon as Jesus was baptized, he went up out of the water. At that moment, heaven was opened, and he saw the Spirit of God descend like a dove and lighting on him. And a voice from heaven said, this is my Son whom I love. With him I am well pleased. What is the baptism of Jesus all about? Well, and why should I get baptized? First reason I should get baptized is Jesus did. Now, he was baptized into John the Baptist's baptism, but it related to baptism for us, okay? And you'll understand that when I'm done. Jesus went out of his way to get baptized. He went to the Jordan River from where he lived. You know how far it was? 120 miles, and he walked. That's what he did to get to enough water where John the Baptist was baptizing. John was probably his cousin, and he went to John and asked him to baptize him. And John said, should I baptize you? He knew he was the Messiah, had to. I need to be baptized by you, not you by me. And Jesus said, let it be so now. It is right for us to do this to fulfill all righteousness. Okay, so the first reason you should be baptized because Jesus did it. Jesus did it, it's the right thing. Second, to fulfill it, Jesus got baptized to fulfill all righteousness. What is he talking about? This is what that means. Jesus was looking forward to what he came here to do when he said that. He came here to die on a cross to pay for our sin and remove all our sin, be buried in the grave for 3 days, and be raised from the dead. He came to pay for sin, be buried for 3 days, and be raised from the dead to thump death, beat back death forever and for good with his resurrection. Okay? And so he fulfilled all righteousness by finishing the mission God gave him to do. And what he did then is he fulfilled all righteousness because guess what happens today? When we come to him in faith, he had righteousness. And when we come to him and trust his death, burial, and resurrection, and we reenact that by being baptized into him, when we trust that, we're saying, I trust what you did, Jesus. You know what he does? He transfers his righteousness to us, and it fulfills all righteousness. He's the only guy who never sinned. The rest of us have a hard time. He lived 33 years and never sinned. We have a hard time with 33 minutes. But when we're baptized into him, we're saying, I experience with you, Jesus, your death, your burial, and your resurrection. And he transfers his righteousness to us because we trust him. That's called faith. We're saved by faith, by grace through faith, and that not of yourselves. It's the gift of God. That's what saves us. And when you're baptized, you say, I trust what you did for me, Jesus. When you fulfilled all righteousness, died for my sin, buried and raised from the dead. That's the second reason, because it fulfills all righteousness. The third reason, how did God respond to Jesus getting baptized? Okay? This is my Son whom I love. With him I'm well pleased. God the Father was tickled pink because Jesus got baptized. You know why? Because Jesus was saying, This enacts, before I do it, what I'm going to do for the world. This is the gospel. I'm reenacting it before I do it for the world. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to fulfill that. And when we're baptized, we're looking back at it. We're saying, wow, Jesus died for me, was buried, was raised from the dead. I trust what Jesus did. So 3 reasons you ought to get baptized. Number 1, Jesus did it. He never got it wrong. Number 2, it transfers righteousness to you because you trust what Jesus paid for you at the cross and his resurrection. And you're saying, I believe that what you did for me saves me. And it transfers his righteousness to you. And the 3rd reason is God to be pleased because he was pleased with Jesus when he did it. If you've never been baptized by immersion, you ought to do it because it expresses faith in what Jesus did. Hope you subscribe to my channel and share this with other people.